While there is a lot of freedom that we're nurturing in the children, liberties that are offered in a Montessori elementary environment, we are still very conscious of society's expectations of children's development and acquisition of knowledge. And that has a role in our classrooms. Now, in the United States, each state is responsible for its, sort of benchmarks and standards as children age through the education system. And most countries around the world also have some sort of national standards. So wherever you are, you need to be familiar with these standards and be able to understand where children are expected to be by society at a given age. We use these standards in the classroom as another tool for responsibility for the children. So we do make the children aware of societal expectations, and that's something that as a citizen of wherever they live, they're expected to fulfill. The nice thing is that we have children for 3 years. So while these standards tend to be year by year in grade level, we can take a look at them in a 3-year cycle. We have 3 years to work on these standards with the children. And I certainly don't necessarily bring these standards to the youngest of children in the classroom as they're first getting used to the classroom and how it functions and how they fit and all those other things. But as they approach their 3rd year in perhaps a lower elementary classroom and throughout the upper elementary classroom, we can bring these standards to the children's awareness because it ultimately is their responsibility, right? The learning's happening in their minds. So I can nurture and support that and scaffold all of this, but ultimately they're the ones responsible to know these things. Fortunately, it's, quite easy to meet all these standards in what we have to offer the children. But sometimes we have to, bring their awareness to it. So they work on something that maybe hasn't been as inspiring to them as other things. It can be useful to have a copy of these standards in the classroom for the children's reference. Generally, you need to sort of interpret it a bit and make the language accessible to the children. And it can be helpful to list some of the materials or presentations alongside a standard that would allow the children to independently, meet that standard with those particular materials. What the children will find is that these standards are a very minimum. Often they go far beyond this, but they need to be aware that it is the minimum of what is expected of them, and they have a responsibility to, meet that minimum standard. And that, of course, we're here to help you to do that. If there's something that's more challenging or something we just haven't gotten our hands on yet, so we should get involved with those standards. But this is a tool to help the children recognize their responsibility to broader society. As a citizen of this culture, you need to have this bare minimum of knowledge, and that's a responsibility we have to manage in this classroom. Again, it's usually not too hard to do, then we can find ways to meet all of those standards, but there are times that, we really want the children to be aware of them so we can collaborate on them together.